I kind of lost my thought. I was trying to think what else we should. I'm trying to think about all the crap, the money. I hate to keep saying all the damn big dollars scare them away. Okay, so you bought a helicopter. Let's talk about how much it costs to operate a helicopter. You know, the price of a new Robinson helicopter like this one you're looking at here is, you know, $500,000. You know, Robinson will tell you $250 an hour to operate it, and that's including insurance and fuel and all that. Well, don't believe it. I'd say on the minimum side, it's $300 an hour to operate it. So if you're a commercial pilot, your insurance is going to be super high, like mine. So Robinson would tell you you can get insurance for $12,000. I've never seen it. I don't know who gets insurance for $12,000. They've got their own insurance company, and it's like maybe $18,000 to $19,000 for their insurance, and it's often like the Cayman Islands kind of deal, and I can't use the insurance because it covers absolutely nothing that I do. So if you do any kind of ag work or you actually work out of the helicopter, it's not going to cover what you do. All these people crashing these helicopters has made the insurance go super high. So I won't be afraid to tell you, like my kind of flying where we're gathering cattle, we're shooting out of the helicopter, we're lucky to get insurance. This is liability, so the liability part's about $4,000, but the whole to cover the whole of a $500,000 helicopter, you're looking at about $33,000 a year. Somebody tell you it's cheap, it is not cheap. That's extremely expensive. So just go ahead and pencil in, if you're doing any kind of commercial work, pencil in $37,000 worth of insurance a year. So you were well over $300 an hour on these things. And what that includes is your annual or 100 hour if you're commercial. So for me being commercial, every 100 hours, I get what's called a 100 hour / annual. So a 100 hour is so close to being an annual, we just go ahead and do the annual. So go ahead and figure that's going to cost $7,000. Anything you add to it, if you add a radio to it, figure that's going to cost you $5,000. Like for me, I have to set mine up for spraying. Every time I do something on a helicopter, it seems like it's $4,000 or $5,000. It's just expensive. The reason we fly these helicopters is because out here, they have to pay for themselves. So if you were to hire me to go just fly you around, say you had a ranch here and you need me to go fly you around your ranch and let's look at some stuff, it's going to be $650 an hour. Now, if I'm doing chemical work for you, so I'm doing some external load or something like that, it's usually going to be about $950 to $1,000 an hour for external load, just because of the danger of external loads and the risk you're taking at that point. And you know, coyote hunting, pig hunting, $650 an hour, like I said, plus ammo. If you come to do my shooting deal, it's $1,000 for the hour, and that covers everything. So I don't want you to think that you buy one at $250, you're going to be flying around, you know, and just having a big time with no expenses. They're expensive, and so that's one of the reasons why we fly these helicopters, because we can actually get a lot of work done, and believe it or not, that's pretty cheap for a helicopter. You get into the turbine world, $7,000 is a lot for an annual. Well, it's not. So I flew a MD 500 for 6 years. Love the helicopter. It's a cool ass helicopter. I mean, has a ton of sex appeal, but an annual on it averaged about $20,000. Annual, 100 hour annual. So I mean, it's just stuff like that that's very expensive. And then, like, the thing about these Robinsons are everything is wore out essentially at 2,200 hours. The MD had all these different time changes. So, you know, I'm flying along there and I take it in for an annual. I knew it was going to be like 20,000. Well, my gearbox, my tail rotor gearbox and tail rotor blades were out too. So I was like, oh crud. So anyways, I didn't know what that was going to cost. Well, $65,000 later. So now you get a $20,000 annual plus $65,000. So it's like, holy crap. So anyways, the sex appeal is super high on those MDs, but man, they're super expensive. So the kind of work we do out here, we can't charge that kind of money. Now, like I flew an R66, another turbine helicopter. It's got another seat in the back. Super cool helicopter, a little rough riding, but starter generator is giving me some trouble. And just the starter generator, you're talking $45,000 just for a starter generator. So, you know, that's where you kind of got to be careful about which helicopter you crawl into, you know, how much it's going to cost you to operate them. So, you know, you can get into like an R22, which is the two-seater of this, and you can probably cut everything in half and maybe a little bit more. They're a little slower, not quite as nice, but you know, if you don't need the extra seats, that's great. These R44s work really good for us. So okay, so now you decide, oh, you can afford a helicopter. So now you gotta get your training. So if you're just going to be a private pilot, you're probably looking at $20,000 to $25,000 just for the school and building enough hours to go take your private pilot test. And then from there, if you want to be a commercial pilot, you're probably looking at, like, I would say it's bumping, I'd say somewhere in the neighborhood, depending on if you own the helicopter or if you don't own the helicopter, probably about $80,000, because you need 150 hours before you get your commercial, unless you're doing an add-on. And then your CFI, just throw another $20,000 on top of that, which is your commercial flight instructor. So that's kind of the money in it. Now, it used to be a lot cheaper in these helicopters. Back when I started flying, you know, 25 years ago, it was a lot cheaper, but it's gotten pretty dang expensive now. You know, they're saying, yeah, you can do this or you can do that. Everybody thinks, you know, just because you got this helicopter, it's expensive. Well, yeah, it is expensive, but these bigger helicopters or turbines, you can have a whole fleet of these R44s for what one of those costs. So that's why it's important to be able to, you know, say, yeah, you know, $30,000 here and $20,000 there is expensive, but you're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars in these bigger helicopters. And I've owned them. I've owned them all, and I mean, I can tell you, it's expensive whenever you get in those kind of helicopters. So that's why these R44s work for us. Is there some things I'd like to change about them? Yes. Is there some things I really like about them? Yes. The main thing is we can actually make a living, make the helicopter pay out here. So some of the jobs we'll be doing predator control, cattle gathering. I do a lot of chemical application too, sightseeing, tours, all that kind of stuff. If you're making $200 or $300 an hour, you know, you can make it pay. You know, counting prairie chickens is a big deal out here. They're counting prairie chickens, and you fly for hours and hours and hours, and it, you know, it makes money. Every little bit you can do will make money, and that's out here. Everything on the ranch has to pay. How we make it pay is we're commercial pilots, and we hire out. Hey, this is Jason Abraham with the Mendota Ranch. I appreciate you subscribing, liking, following me on Instagram, sharing it with your friends. Every little bit helps. Thank you.